Bryan McFadden, Emory Hunt offering their thoughts. And let's start with that Broncos-Bills matchup. On paper, the Bills, they got business to tend to beyond the Broncos, but that's no pushover right now, Emory. The defensive side of the ball, one of the best in the business, the quarterback playing confident. Where should the preparation start for the Buffalo Bills as they look at their opponent?
The defensive line, the front seven, actually. When you think about playing against a mobile quarterback, I know they have one themselves in Josh Allen, but when you're talking about Bo Nix, who has been such a significant part of the Broncos' run game, it's about push versus pressure. You don't want to rush past Bo Nix. You want to rush to him and collapse around him. And those linebackers have to really be locked into their depth with their drops, but also be cognizant of when he is or where he is in the pocket and whether or not he takes off and beat him to the spot. If Bo Nix's legs become a significant factor in this game against Buffalo, it can cause a lot of the problems we saw Lamar Jackson cause against this Bills defense.
Mac, we saw this offense open up on Sunday, the Denver Broncos offense, that is. Defense becomes the question for the Buffalo Bills with the offense getting a historic output right now. Defensively, how should we feel about the Buffalo Bills heading into postseason play?
You know what, Joe, Emory, I think that's the one area where you might have some concerns with their defense, right? Because their offense has been so good, led by the quarterback in Josh Allen. They've been able to throw it. They've been able to run it. But when you look at their defense, the area of concern I have is just the interior. Sometimes in terms of the lack of size, powerful running teams can really exploit those matchups in their favor. But with the Denver Broncos, that has been an area of concern for their offense, running the football, especially being able to do so downhill. So if they can have the same success that other opposing defenses has had against the Denver Broncos in terms of the running north and south, they should be fine. But if they allow Denver to establish a north and south ground attack, then it could be a bit dicey. But for what the Denver Broncos has done the entire season, they try to hit the perimeter and they try to utilize the athletic quarterback in the running game as well as a +1. So for Buffalo, just keep that status quo. Make sure they don't establish that ground and pound attack because they haven't really been able to do so throughout the course of the season.
And we know Sean Payton with the new rules can't dust off that old Super Bowl bell ringer. That's right. That's one that he can't pull out of the pocket here in that matchup. Steelers and Ravens, our next one to get to. And Mac, I'm coming back to you because this has sort of been the through line, the narrative all season long. One team chasing the other. One gets hot down the stretch, the other gets cold. But we have talked so much, you and I, in the past about the years that predate this matchup. What does the history mean to what we're going to see on Saturday, with maybe the mental edge being on the side of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the past?
It's one of the more, anticipated rivalries in the National Football League. And the reason why is because both organizations have been very, very successful. Both organizations do things the old school way. Tough mentality, extremely physical in between the trenches, playing hardcore defense. They resemble each other. And because of the resemblance, they hate each other. So I love seeing this because I was a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers years ago when we faced off against the Baltimore Ravens 3 times in the season, 2 times regular season, 1 time in the playoffs. I was a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers who swept the Baltimore Ravens during that same season that led to a championship run. You look at both matchups between both teams. Pittsburgh won one in Pittsburgh, and of course Baltimore won the final game weeks ago in Baltimore. But when you look at the deciding factor, right, turnovers, fast starts. If you can get off to a fast start, especially in a rivalry-like matchup, and play smart football, keeping the football clean, you will be in a position to win this ball game. That has really hampered the Pittsburgh Steelers in the midst of this 4-game losing streak to finish out the regular season. Untimely turnovers, especially in the first half. Guys, this team in the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not good enough to have those turnovers surface and still get around those turnovers. They're not good enough. They got to play smart, clean football. Let's see, can they learn from their mistakes, especially the last time out against Baltimore in Baltimore.
Yeah, Christmas, it was a Najee fumble. We've seen Russ give it away at the wrong time as well. This is not one person's problem. This is a team problem, and one that Bryan McFadden has a great point of bringing up. 8.5 is the number between these two. Vegas doesn't miss by much all that often, Emory. So I'll pose this question. To make this a game, we're going to need more offense out of the Pittsburgh Steelers than we've seen over the last month. Where do they find that?
Pat Freiermuth. We saw him start to come alive in their last game here, of the regular season. And to me, that's where they're going to have to start, because he was the most consistent of their receiving threats. Until you get consistent play down and down out, both in the run game and in the passing game from George Pickens, you can't really depend on him. Whatever happened to Mike Williams? He went ghost after that great catch down the sideline. Get him more involved. Van Jefferson needs to get more involved. Calvin Austin is someone that Russ seemed to have great chemistry with. And if they can't find another passing target, I think you're going to have to work the middle of the field, get those Ravens linebackers in conflict. They have two good tight ends. Darnell Washington is someone that could be unleashed in the passing game. But if you're expecting the receiving core of the Pittsburgh Steelers to really step up, you can't say we've seen that, the back 5 games of this season.
And I'll say this, the personnel is the personnel at this point in time in the season, right? And they like playmakers. But one thing you could do to help the offense, utilize tempo. I don't think they're good enough to go 4 quarters and just huddling. No, utilize tempo. Get Justin Fields involved in terms of red zone opportunity. Have a red zone package for Justin Fields. That has been an issue for their offense over the last 3 or 4 weeks. The inability to score touchdowns. Field goals will not get you wins in the playoffs. Remember what Justin Fields provided in the red zone when he was starting. He was a +1 in the running game. He can be another playmaker for the offense in red zone opportunities. I think that's something that's needed, because when you look at how stagnant they've been, you got to find a way to get creative. I think the best way to get creative in the red zone would be adding Justin Fields in a package or so.
If you're looking at QB2 installs come playoff time, you're probably looking at plane tickets for vacation. That's my only point there. To your point, Mac, though, it has been that change-up for this team that they've needed in moments, and one that they haven't turned to recently. We'll see if it's a place that they go here in this matchup where pressure lives everywhere in the playoffs. And that's kind of where I want to go on this next one, Chargers and Texans. Where does the pressure live? Because I look at those two names and, expectation changes throughout a season, but it almost feels like found money for the Chargers and a Houston team stressing to take that next step forward. Do you think there's more pressure on one side or the other here, Emery?
I feel like there's more pressure on Houston based on what we saw last season and how they finished. They had all the hype coming into this year. And expected them to go deeper into the postseason, but they look like they're regressing. Chargers are playing with house money. They're, going in the right direction, trending in the right direction. To me, this is where Houston has the most pressure in this game.
I agree with you. You talk about the expectations. Yes, they won their division. Yes, they have a home playoff game, but they haven't been playing good football, right? The Chargers are really playing good football over the last 2 weeks. Justin Herbert has been looking like a big-time playmaker throwing the football. Ladd McConkey has showed up. Quentin Johnston showed up big time today against the Raiders. So they have a lot of momentum and confidence going into this ball game. So if I'm the Houston Texans, you need to be on the lookout for upset alert, because the Chargers are coming in highly inspired, playing with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, time for that big arm and old Herbie to put one in the win column come playoff time. Bryan McFadden, Emery Hunt, appreciation. As always, we take a look at that matchup list once again. Chiefs, relax, enjoy yourself. 15-2, you earned it. 2 versus 7 goes Bills and Broncos on CBS. Steelers and Ravens going up as well. Texans and Chargers. One will move on, one will move out. The beauty of playoff football.